Hi everyone, this is Mr. Glazer. We're going to talk about corruption and political machines today. So, a political machine is really just a political party that performs certain functions in their own society and their own community. So, they do lots of good stuff. For instance, the poor people in their communities, political machines, these parties are going to see that these communities, especially during the Gilded Age, when there's widespread poverty, low wages being paid and such, when they see these poor people in these communities need certain services. So these political machines, these parties, are going to help these people get food, get shelter in places that we call tenements, urban tenements. Tenements are just these real cheap and kind of dangerous apartment buildings that lots of poor people lived in during the Gilded Age in the major cities. So they'll help them get food, get shelter in these tenements, get water, get government IDs, get jobs. And they're also going to help out immigrant populations. These cities are going to be full of immigrants. All those new immigrants from Southern and Eastern Europe, the people that did not assimilate well because they didn't know English, they weren't Protestant, the Christians, like the old immigrants of America were, they all needed help. They needed help assimilating. They needed help becoming Americans and getting services from America. And a lot of nativists, remember, nativists were people that did not trust immigrants, are going to shun them and ignore them in society. So they would really have a need in society. So these political parties, these political machines, are going to step in, help their communities out, help the poor, help the immigrants assimilate, become more like Americans. And all they ask in return for this is 4 votes. They want these poor people, these immigrants, all these people that they are supporting to vote for them. That way their political machine, their party, can be elected into the government, into the city government, and then they could take positions such as mayor, the chief of police, someone on city council, the comptroller, whatever. Except for once they're in political office, they start to use the power of that office to help themselves, their supporters, and their friends in very dishonest ways. And they do it in and that is really what we call corruption. So these political parties, these political machines, once they are in office, they become very corrupt. So first of all, they're going to use what we call the patronage system, which you might remember from middle school as the spoil system, which is where they're going to give their friends, their supporters, government jobs in their own political machine atmosphere, in their own corrupt atmosphere. And these jobs are going to be jobs that they are not qualified for. They don't really know how to do them. If you put them in charge of the city budget, they might be terrible at math. They might be a corrupt police officer. They might really just be incompetent and not really have any skills to do their jobs. But they're given the job because they support the political machine, and that's what counts. They are loyal, and that's what the political machine cares about. Another sign of corruption. The main part of a political machine, however, is that they're going to use the power of their government that they are now a part of, or they are now in charge of, to make themselves money and more powerful. And we'll look at how that works in a second. And what those are going to be called are kickbacks. So the way they're going to make this money to help keep their power in the government, the way they're going to make the money is through what we call kickbacks. So since they're in charge of a city, cities are funded by taxes. So all the people living in the cities are taxpayers, and all the money coming into the government are taxpayers' money. So kickbacks are going to be a form of stealing that money that the citizens are paying into the system. That money usually goes to roads, schools, local businesses, infrastructure, so on, so on. So as we see, political machines do have good functions. So they're helping immigrants, they're helping them assimilate, they're helping the poor, but they also are very corrupt. They're giving jobs to people that they're not qualified for. They're stealing money from the taxpayers through kickbacks, so on and so on. So they do serve a function that's good, but they're also pretty bad. So let's look how kickbacks actually work, how political machines are corrupt, and how they make their money. So like we said, they're going to use the power of their city to make themselves and their friends rich and powerful. So the way this is usually going to work is through what we call city contracts. So cities are going to give out contracts to certain businesses, and usually these businesses would be corrupt and dishonest as well. And these contracts might be, let me give you an example. So there might be a construction company that will help build the roads for a city or government buildings. So the city will hire that company, give them a contract, and let me take you through an example now with that. So let's say they're giving out a $1 million contract to a company to build a road, a construction company. Now, they're only going to say it costs $1 million. It's really not going to cost $1 million. They're going to tell the construction company, look, the job's really only going to cost you $200,000. Build the road, take the $200,000. That's for your labor, that's for the materials, that's for everything. Take that, and you can keep that guaranteed. Now, what we have left is $800,000. So we're going to give you that contract and you're going to make some good money on it. But when it's all said and over, we want you to secretly kick back that extra $800,000 back to us, the political machine. And you got to do it secretly. So now I have a kickback of $800,000 that is going back to the political machine. So they took $1 million of taxpayer money that is funded by the people of the city, gave it to the construction company, say, you guys really only keep $200,000. Then secretly, you give us the $800,000 left. So we embezzled it pretty much. We secretly held on to this money, and it doesn't go back to the city. It goes back to our corrupt pockets. So now the political machine just stole $800,000 from the taxpayers, from the city. And it's not going back to the city. It's going back to the political machine, the party people, the people they gave corrupt jobs to, so on and so on. This is what we call a kickback. You are stealing money from the taxpayers and kicking it back to yourself. But it all has to be under the radar. They can't just steal the money directly from the city. They have to say it was for something. Otherwise, they would get arrested for just straight up stealing it. So they have to do it a little more indirect. And remember, this is all going to the political machine, not just one person. They're going to share that kicked back money, that $800,000, with everyone in their political machine. All those supporters, all the people that voted for, not all the people that voted for them, but some of the people that voted for them, so on and so on. So the most famous political machine is one in New York City, and it's controlled by this guy that we call Party Boss Tweed. He was the political boss. He's the party boss of New York City. So there was a political machine in New York. Remember, political machine is just a political party, and it was called Tammany Hall. He's the leader. Of course, they're going to do good stuff. They're going to help out the poor. They're going to help the immigrants assimilate and become more like Americans. They're going to help out the homeless, food, water, get them shelter and tenements, so on, so on. And those people are going to vote for them in exchange. And once they're in power, they're going to try to steal money from New York City, because that's where their political machine is. And they're going to do that through kickbacks. Let's look at some of the famous kickbacks that Boss Tweed and Tammany Hall had. So for 3 tables and 40 chairs, the political machine is going to pay $179,000. That's what they're going to say the price is. The original price is only going to be $39,000. And the political machine is going to kick back that extra $140,000 of taxpayer money. They're going to steal that and give it back to themselves. wood carpentry work. They're going to say the price is $360,000 and $751,100. And there was actually never any woodwork done. They straight up just lied that that work was going to be done. So the actual price is zero. So they kick back the whole price of the job to themselves. So they just pocket that. So it's just a way of saying, hey, we're using this money for something, but secretly we're going to kick it back to our own pockets, steal it from the city, give it to ourselves. So the goal essentially is overprice something and kick back some of the extra money to yourselves and steal that money from the taxpayers. Let's look at a few little cartoons and we'll be done. So here you have a big thumb. Let's answer a few questions about it. First of all, it's a thumb that is under the city of New York. And we also see that it's whose thumb. It says William M. Tweed. This is Boss Tweed. So we know that the hand and the thumb right here represents Boss Tweed and his political machine Tammany Hall. And he has New York City under his thumb. As it says here, the title that we always look at first is called Under the Thumb. So Boss Tweed has New York City under his thumb. So who basically controls New York City? Boss Tweed and his political machine, his party, Tammany Hall. Let's look at another one. So here we have a ring of people, a circle of people, and they're all pointing to the guy next to them. Let's look at our title. It says, who stole the people's money? Do tell. 'Twas him. And they're all pointing to the other guy saying it was him. And this is the Tammany Ring, which means it's a part of the political machine in New York City called Tammany Hall. So we know that this guy right here, the big guy, definitely looks different than the rest of them. A lot bigger, a lot more in charge. We know this is Boss Tweed. Let's go look at a picture of him really quick. Yep, looks pretty similar, right? So Boss Tweed and the Tammany Ring stole the people's money. Well, how do political machines steal money? Remember what that's called? Those are called kickbacks, illegal kickbacks. So it's saying that these are all the people that are involved in the political machine. You have all the corrupt government officials, all the people of the political party, all the corrupt companies. You see right over here it says Carpenter, for instance. That might be one of the corrupt businesses that was a part of the deals to steal the money. All of these people were corrupt and worked together dishonestly to steal money from the people, from the taxpayers, which makes them part of this political machine. All right, I hope that helped with political machines and corruption in the Gilded Age. I'm Mr. Glazer. Thanks.